Shalom, everyone. And today we are studying, we can say, one of the most important parashot of the whole Torah. Some say, Rashi mentions that in the beginning of Genesis, just on the first verse on Genesis, that the Torah was supposed to start in this parasha. Why? This is the parasha of the plague of the firstborn, the Passover, the Passover miracle, and the Exodus is really happening here in this parasha. So what does that mean? That when Rashi says something like this, and the answer is that it's like basically the world we know is born in this parasha. What does it mean, the world that we know? So I have to emphasize again the effect of this parasha and the whole book of Shmot, the whole Torah, on the history of humanity. Yes, the stories mentioned over here happened in Israel. They started in they were involved also with stories. Abram was born in a ancient Sumer and in Ur and Egypt, all of that stuff. But there's one thing that is important. It affected and it's affecting the world till today, and the effect, the power is still ongoing because humanity is the journey of humanity is basically the journey of discovering the messages of this parasha. Why is it so important? Let's start all over again. When we are talking about the ancient world till the Exodus, we are talking about a world in which most humans are basically worthless mortals. That's how ancient religions regarded humans. Worthless, that's how they wanted humans to feel, which means in a society in which paganism is for basically to serve a very small layer of elite, that they were kind of the gods. They were extremely rich relatively to the people. The people were basically a commodity. They were the ones who create the creative value, agriculture, whatever that was doing, building, but they were not supposed to realize that they are the ones who create the value, and therefore they do have value. If you read the mythologies of all ancient religions, people, mortal people, considered to be worthless, which means they are basically supposed to be appreciative towards the elite, but they have no right for anything of their own. No rights for property, no rights for happiness, abuse of they had no rights. Everything they had was part of the ancient world for many, many, many generations. The world is still based on this problem of injustice, of the really wealthy, powerful, so on, trying to give the people the feeling you're just a worthless mortal and don't even dare to fight for your rights. Even in a very declared democratic societies, just go and try to fight the big, rich, powerful, politically powerful forces. Just try to fight them and fight for your own rights. You'll realize it's not that easy till today. Still, there's a big difference. So the difference is happening, it's a turning point, because in Parashat Bo, we are reading about the last 3 plagues of the 10 plagues. And the last plague is the plague of the firstborn, which is basically seeing Egypt crumbling as a power, as a superpower. And then Pharaoh is simply telling, and the Egyptians, telling the Israelites, get out of our land after centuries of enslavement, abuse, killing, genocide, you just name it. So what is the message? So we said from the beginning, Parashat Bo is the 3rd parasha of the readings of ShOVaVIM TaT, which are the first 6 parashot, 8 parashot of the book of Exodus, in the journey from slavery into freedom. This is the journey that is imprinted in the universe, same way it says in the Passover Haggadah, the text that is being read on Passover for 33 centuries, same way it says on the Passover Haggadah that every person must see himself, every generation, like he or she, they're getting out of Egypt today. Same thing when we are reading those parashot, we have to see ourselves committed to the message of this parasha, because there's a cosmic opening allowing us, all of us, to experience our own exodus personally, individually. And this is like the message is very, very personal. On one end, it's universal on the other end, because society, a group of people, is basically the summary of all what the individuals are going through, which means when we see the world the way it is and we feel we deserve to have a better world means better for every individual. So we can't say that every individual will experience the transformation, the progress in the same way, but in a general idea, we'll see a progression, we'll see a transformation. And that's what we all need to understand day by day, year by year, since the Exodus, that we gave birth basically to another reality. Okay, what again the reality is? The ancient reality before the Exodus is the reality of stagnation, which means whatever was will always be. No future, no hope, no transformation, no evolution, no improvement. If we research the ancient mythologies of the ancient civilizations, that was the issue. There's not going to be a change. There's no evolution. Things were, are, and always will be the same, which means you, the way you're born, the way you're raised up, that's the way you're going to be stuck forever. And in some cultures, lifetime after lifetime. There's no way out of that miserable life. No wonder people's life expectancy was very short, because, after a few decades, like 30, you already have little children, they're grown up, they already you could be a grandparent if children got married in their early teens. So you're already a grandparent in your 30s, early 30s, and then you're simply fed up and you go, because what is it to wait for? It's just going to be worse from now on. So this is not a joke. This is really how the world looked like for so many millennia. Now, millennials. So now the question is like this: how is the message over here? Because the message is that there is a solution, there is a way out, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, then that is called tikva, hope. Tikva comes from the Hebrew word kav, line, a line, which means you are connected. As long as you are connected to the tree of life, you are online to the Tree of Life network, then you will be part of a constant improvement. So sometimes you fall, but then you get up and you try all over again. Sometimes you have to go down in order to go up. But if you take a summary of your life, you'll see that it's always going upwards. Yeah, there are downhills, there are downfalls, there are mistakes, horrible mistakes, but if you're committed to the ideas that the Torah brought to the world, you're always going to experience growth, which means these ideas are being brought to the world right now. Today, you can find people that live those ideas all over the world. But the ideas came from here. And the breakthrough in this parasha is not just as the Kabbalists are teaching, as we spoke about Rabbi Zakloria, it's delivering the idea of hope, of connecting to the network of the Tree of Life to every human being, because the whole of humanity is going through that journey. So let's see how that is manifested in this parasha. So Parashat Bo, the book of Exodus, chapter 10, verse 1. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, Bo el Paro. And God says to Moses, come to Pharaoh. And now there's a lot of discussions about it. And first of all, what does it mean, come to Pharaoh? It doesn't say go to Pharaoh, come to Pharaoh. And there's a whole study, many layers study of that idea of Bo el Paro, Bo, come to. And we'll read the Zohar. The Zohar says, Zohar Hasulam, verse 36, אמר רבי שמעון, השתאית לגלה הרזין, דהיינו מדבקין לעילה ותתה, מה כתיב בו אל פרעה? לך אל פרעה מבא אלי. מהי בו? אלא דעייל לי קודשה בריחו, אידרין בתר אידרין. לגבי תנינא חדה אלאה תקיפה, לכמה דרגין משתלשלים מיני, ומניהו רזה דתנין הגדול. Now, says the Zohar, Rabbi Shimon is teaching us, and he says, this is the time, which means while we're studying Parashat Bo, this is the time to reveal secrets that are connected to the above and the below. We'll see soon what does that mean. What does it say? Come to Pharaoh. But go to Pharaoh, that was supposed to be the language being used over here. What does it mean, come? However, and he answers that God brought Moses rooms within rooms, deeper and deeper, into a great crocodile that is a very, very powerful, divine crocodile, that many, many levels evolve from that crocodile, which means we're talking about a cosmic force that is called, by the symbolism of the Zohar, a crocodile. And who is that? This is the secret of the great crocodile. It's being mentioned in Genesis chapter 1 already on the fifth day. Okay, so we continue on verse 37. ומשה דחיל מיני, ולא קריב אלא לגבי עינון יאורין, ועינון דרגין דילי, אבל לגבי דחיל ולה קריב, בגין דחם עלי משתרש בשורשים לין. And Moses was afraid of him. Moses was afraid of that force that is called the upper crocodile. And he was afraid of him. And he was not able but to approach the Niles, the rivers, which are the levels, which means the emanations or the evolving levels of that crocodile. But for the crocodile himself, he was afraid to approach because he saw how powerful that, again, it's a cosmic force called the Great Crocodile, that how rooted that force in the upper worlds. I'll explain soon what is this all about. 38. כיוון דחם הקודשה בייחוד דחיל משה, ושליחן ממנן אחרין לעילה, לה יכלין לקרבה לגבי, אמר קודשה בייחוד, הנני עליך פרעה מלך מצרים, התנים הגדול הרובץ בתוך יאוריו. וקודשה בייחוד יצטרך להגחה בהקרבה ולא אחרה, כמה דתמר, אני השם. והוקמו ארזה דחוכמתה דתנים הגדול הרובץ בתוך יאוריו, לעינון מראי מדין, דידעין ברזין דמרואיון. Translation. Since God saw that Moses is afraid, he didn't think he can fight and win against that force called the Great Crocodile by himself. And other angels from above were also incapable of approaching that, again, the force that is called the upper crocodile. So God said, I am upon you, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, the great crocodile in his Nile. This verse is a quote from Ezekiel 29, part of the prophecies, which means we're not talking about Pharaoh himself as a person. We're talking about the symbolism, which means the forces that Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, was basically just a manifestation. Those forces were very powerful then, and they're still very powerful today, as I'm going to explain. And I think you're going to guess, which means only God can make him a war, direct war. Nobody else was powerful enough to do it. And that's why it says, I am Hashem, Youdkevitch, the tetragrammaton, Ani velo malach, me and not an angel, as when we read the Passover Haggadah, which means it's God himself with no messenger. Okay, so translation into common language. When we come to redeem ourselves from our own Egypt, from our own limitations, fears, mostly addictions. So some people have addiction to alcohol, some people have addictions to what people will say, some people are addicted to all kinds of stuff that was told to them repeatedly when they were younger. And sometimes only once in a life, which means a lot of people have this trauma of a parent or another adult or friends who saying, you're useless, you're a loser, you're never going to make it. And people are basically addicted to that vision upon their lives that somebody else just brought it upon them. Or a lot of people do it to themselves. They try once, twice, 3 times, and then they don't try again, and they continue to call themselves deeply inside and sometimes vocally losers. I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to make it. Why you're not going to make it? Because you're afraid to fight that inner dark force that says you can't make it. You're not supposed to make it. By the way, just to think about it, the way nature is structured, the physical nature, is whenever you want to raise an object, you want to raise a book, okay? You have to invest energy. And if you don't invest in the right amount of energy, the book will never rise above the table. And if it's going to rise above the table, depends how much energy you invest, how high can you raise the book? Which means if you want to raise yourself to a higher position, by all means, socially, financially, mentally, energy-wise, you need to invest power. You need to invest energy. There's going to be always a force that pulls you down, and that force, gravity, has also that force to every human being, that those are always those thoughts, emotions, opinions, like why fighting? Why trying? You just sit there and wait for your death to come. Why are you just putting so much effort of changing yourself, your environment, the world? Why are you doing it? Why investing the energy? It's tough. It's not easy. It's wasteful. Okay? Why? Now, the point is you always have to do it. But the story over here, where it says Bo el Paro, it says come to Pharaoh. So there are two ways, best ways we can explain it. Moses, when he realized that he has to reach the core, the source of the great crocodile, which means that force of the evil inclination, the Egypt, the Pharaoh in each one of us. And now Moses had to reach the core for all of humanity. And Moses says, who am I? How can I do that? For everybody, forever? Me? I'm just a human being. I'm just a mortal. So God says to Moses, come to Pharaoh. Let's go together. Let's do it together. You can't do it by yourself. I am coming with you. Not an angel, not a messenger, not an offshoot. I'm coming with you, which means each one of us, when we are trying to create that great project of tikkun olam, correcting, promoting, moving forward of humanity towards a better world, with less pain, negativity, fear, abuse, and evil. That is not going to happen by itself. You need, as people know along history, you need to give blood, sweat, and tears. Without it, it will never happen. Now, there's one little thing. The message here, you want to do it, you have to come. First of all, to go to the root of the great crocodile above. And what does it mean? You need, if you're not going to fight the source, the root of all of that force, what is it? This is the forces of evil. This is the force of the origin of all corruption, negativity, and evil all over. That's called the Great Crocodile. That's called Pharaoh. That's called Egypt. These are all names to describe the original force that is responsible to all of humanity's sufferings. You cannot just trim the farthest away branches. You have to go to the root. And going to the root, the last few centuries, humanity went through a huge revolution. People simply liberated themselves from the boundaries of established religion and created modern humanism, saying with our logic, humans can create a better society. We do not need God for that project of making the world better. The world became better. Still, the moment that was only pure logic, as I said many times, the result was many times horrible, worse than all the damage that religions brought to the world altogether. We're talking about Marxism and the results, all of those hundreds of millions that were murdered in the name of a better society. Let's kill all the people who do not want to share their talent and assets with everybody evenly. Let's kill all of these people because they are the source of evil. And we'll have a perfect society. What was the result? Just learn a little bit the history of all the results of the huge massacre of Bolshevism in Soviet Russia in the 20s and 30s, and the horrible results of that massacre. And same story with China's Mao Zedong, how the great famine, when all of these people that were moving society and economy forward were killed. And finally, whoever basically was willing not to fight for it, but just to be like everybody else. And then the famine that followed, how the Soviet empire collapsed because people had no incentive to work anymore. And the result, as Rabbi Ashlag predicted in the early 30s, was they simply collapsed. They were bankrupt. Same thing with China. China had to become somehow semi-capitalist in order to be able to rise from chronic famine. Okay, and that was around the whole world. And or we're talking about Nazism. That was, okay, we don't need God in the picture. We don't need the Bible and its values, because this is just destroying our ability to rise to higher powers. It was very short-lived and very, very painful experiment. But still, we're looking right now about what's happening to humanity. And the farther away you push God out of your life, the less powerful is the journey towards self-improvement. We see less and less happy people. And why is that? Because if you want to fight the source of all evil, corruption, injustice, abuse, you just name it. We all know the problems. If you are not coming with God, come to Pharaoh, let's do it together. If you're not coming with the power of the light, as the Torah is saying, it's very simple. The only way to remove darkness is to bring in light. You cannot just go into a philosophical argument with the darkness and remove the darkness. You need the light. You need the light of the Creator. You must use that light, because the light that is instilled in the Torah, Hamaor shebatorah, yachziro lemutav. The light hidden in the Torah will finally bring you to a good place. How would that happen? You need to be aware that you must connect to that spiritual light. You must understand that that spiritual light is the only one who can help you go deep into the source of your addictions, fears, demons. The only way to remove them is to go straight into them with the light. So we have to remember that. And then another thing that connects to the book of Exodus, or in Hebrew, the book of names, the verse continues, I made the heart, his heart, Pharaoh's heart, and the heart of his servants, which means they say always, no, you're not going to leave. And the purpose is, Lema'an shiti ototai ele bikirbo. So I can put my signs, these signs, into him, within him. But some sages are saying, don't read my signs, read my letters. which means everyone, according to Rabbi Zagluria, every plague out of the 10 was another letters combinations that are connected to the name of that plague, that got those letters had to be instilled into Pharaoh in order to blow his force from within with light. Whoever remembers that idea was taken into the Matrix, the movie, The Matrix, the first one, the scene at the end when Neo realizes that either he's going to die or he's going to bring in the light where straight into Smith, the agent of darkness, till finally, instead of running away and dying, he simply goes with the light straight into Smith and blows him from within. Not before he realizes that the whole universe is just letters, combinations, permutations. That idea is straight from here. So I can put my letters and the light into him. Into whom? Pharaoh. Where is Pharaoh? Deep inside each one of us. And by destroying that Pharaoh, we can acquire true liberty. What is a true liberty? Being in that space in which we realize that we are nobody's victim, where no one can abuse our rights unless we let them do that. And basically, that we, humanity, are destined to rule this universe. I'm not talking about the universe, this universe we are part of. This universe of time and space that we're part of, our job is to control it with a positive mind. And how do we see that? So just before the firstborn plague, we are going to chapter 12, verse 1. Okay, and we read over there. ויאמר אדוני אל משה ואל אהרון בארץ מצרים לאמור. And Hashem, the Tetragrammaton, talks to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, which means it's in the land of Egypt. They're still in slavery. But in order to get out, to finalize the process of redemption, they need to do the next, what says in the next verse 2, chapter 12 in Exodus, verse 2. החודש הזה לכם ראש חודשים, ראשון הוא לכם לחודשי השנה. This month is yours. The head of the month, the first, it is for you of the months of the year, which means from now on, this is going to be the first month. Okay, what's so big about it? And the answer is, there are many answers, but what is the most important perception we have to come out from this? Let's go. One of the greatest commentators to the Torah, the Sforno, and he says, החודש הזה לכם. First of all, the word לכם, which again, it's almost impossible to translate it into English. Lachem means for you, okay? But also it means it's yours. It's also, some other commentary saying that it's same letters as melech, king, rulership, control, power, okay? It is yours from now on to bless the new moons. Mikan vaelach, from now on, says the Sforno, יהיו החודשים שלכם. From now on, the new moons are going to be yours. Basically, as I said many times, God is outsourcing the process of the birth of a new sign, a new moon, and is giving that power to the Israelite nation till this day. To do, לעשות בהם כרצונכם, to do with that, with the new moons as you wish. אבל בימי השעבוד לא היו ימיכם שלכם. During the slavery, your days were not at your control. היו לעבודת אחרים מרצונם. Other people controlled your time, your days, your energy, your production, but from now on, you are going to be in control of everything. Not just, the money you have, the possessions you have, you will control everything all the way up to the months. לפיכך ראשון הוא לכם לחודשי השנה. And that's why it's going to be the first month for the months of the year, because you're starting to count from the beginning. Because when it says this month is yours, the first one, it means that till now, humanity did not count the time properly. People looked at time as an enemy. You just get older. Time is passing by. You're losing time, and so on and so forth. A lot of people still see time as like this. From the Exodus, just before the plague of the firstborn, 2 weeks before that, the Israelites were given the power to bless the new moon, which means with your mouth, you create your destiny. Who decides from that moment on, when does a new sign, zodiac sign starting? The Jewish people. Till today, we spoke about it many times, till today, we can see today, whoever listened to the lecture about the calendars of the world, today the whole thing about the zodiac is so far-fetched from reality. Why? Because the zodiac signs that were established in the time of Abraham some 4,000 years ago and still was carried on to the Greek astrology and all kind of other astrologies, that was created then because the planet Earth physically is rotating, has a cycle of few thousand years, that the North Pole is pointing to different North Star. The Northern Star of today is not the Northern Star of 4,000 years ago. And therefore, the sun is not, right now, is not going through the signs the way it used to be. So all the story of the signs we're talking about, they changed. So why it's still working? Why still people say, I'm a Leo, I'm a Taurus, I'm a Virgo, whatever? Physically, has nothing to do with reality. Okay? That's why a lot of people say, it's like, what is astrology about? This is nonsense. The sun is not, when it says the sun is right now in Aquarius, it's not. Most probably it's not. Okay? Yes, it is. Why is it? Because the last new moon, okay, that was Thursday last week, okay, that was a new moon, and the Shabbat before, in every synagogue around the world, people declared, holding the Torah in every synagogue, and declared today together, the coming Thursday is going to be the new moon of Shvat, which is the Hebrew for the month of Aquarius, and that's it. And that was outsourced 33 centuries ago. And from that time on, it doesn't matter where the sun is. What matters is where the Israelites decide, when they decide the new moon is going to fall, and what new moon of what month it's going to be. And the Talmud says, it says also that even if it's mentioned over there, but it's hinted, what if the whole nation made a mistake? Okay? There was somebody had a mistake with the calculations. If everybody made a mistake, still, the moment everybody, all the nation, declares this is the new month, it's going to be the month. If they do it unconsciously, if they do it consciously, if they do it deliberately, it's still going to be the way they declare it. And that gives us a new era, the era in which we have to understand that, yes, God has plans. God has all kinds of stuff to give us. But whoever decides how that is going to be manifested, it's nobody but me and you and you and you. And that is, in a nutshell, the whole story of the redemption. What does it mean, redemption? You're not a slave anymore. That's why I say always, when you go to Parashat Ito, Mount Sinai Revelation, what is falsely known as the Ten Commandments, never says in any Hebrew text, Ten Commandments. This is a lie, terrible lie. It says, Eser Dibrot. Dibrot means sayings, utterances. And the Zohar says these are advices. But it's like setting up the rules. And the first one of them says, I'm the Lord your God that took you out of Egypt from the house of slavery. Where is the commandment over here? And the answer is very simple. This is a statement that says you are not in the house of slavery anymore. You're not in Egypt anymore. You're right now a free human being. Accept, do not accept. If you accept, we have something to talk about. You can use the app that is called the Torah, which means you use that for one purpose, to realize your control over your own destiny and reality. That is the story. And you know, people who take responsibility, they are the winners. People who are looking for whom to blame, they are the losers. Look around, nothing changed about it for thousands of years. You want to follow the Torah, you have to follow that idea. You are in control over the zodiac signs. You are in control over what's happening in this reality. You have to believe in that. You have to understand how powerful your words are. With your words, you decide, you determine the zodiac signs, which means being a free human being means taking full responsibility for what you say and for what you do. How we got to what you do, we just spoke about what you say. But remember, people who are winners, people who are successful growing day by day, and maybe sometimes they have mistakes and terrible days, but they always get out of it. These are people who are really giving a lot of importance to what they say. They never say bad things about themselves, about the creation, about anything, about anyone. These are the rules. Words have power because God outsourced his power of creating the universe. Go back to chapter 1 in Genesis. How was the universe created? And God said, with words, okay? But he outsourced that and gave it to us. Who creates reality nowadays? We do. As long as we realize that words have power and you have to be really responsible for what you say. You also have to be responsible for what you listen to. Because if you're listening to people that foolishly, They always speak about things that are going to be horrible. The media is full of these kind of people. Calamities, it's going to be terrible. These are terrible. And always, this is losers talks. You're not supposed to listen to it. Why? Because you start after a while, you're not realizing that you start to speak like this. Oh, this is the end of the world. Have you heard about the climate change? The world comes to an end. Okay, what did you just say? What did you just say? What kind of a change, positive change you're going to generate by going around saying those words? Okay? There's no argument if there's a climate change or not. This is not the issue. The issue is everybody's going to say the world is terrible, the world is falling apart, and you're going around with doomsday prophecies all the time. Your world is coming to an end. Why? You just said it. Because that's the world you are creating. Well, people always say, okay, the world has a lot of problems, but these problems, we are going to solve them. We are going to make a way to overcome them. It's another way. You're acknowledging the problem, but you look at it as an opportunity, as a challenge. Why? Because this world was created for us to repair, okay? Not to find what's wrong and then complain about it. The research, scientific research in modern psychology of the last 2 decades is so clearly into that. Why is that you hear so much about positive affirmations, about talking positive, about positive thinking as a device in medical treatment, as a device in learning properly, in healing people's bad habits? It's first of all acknowledging the power of your words. But as I said, it's not just the words. So that leads us to the second thing. We're talking right now in chapter 12 in Exodus, verse 3. Verse 2 said, now you are, from now on, I'm outsourcing and giving you the power to decide when the new zodiac sign is starting. Okay, and by the way, in the Hebrew calendar, we play with it. What does it mean? You don't declare a new month just on the new moon? No. For instance, I don't know if you notice in the Hebrew calendar, you will never have Yom Kippur on Friday or on Sunday. Why? Because having Yom Kippur and then immediately Shabbat, it's not comfortable when you're going to cook for Shabbat. Okay? Or from Shabbat to Yom Kippur, that's also impossible. Okay? It's very uncomfortable. There's so many reasons in Jewish law why it's uncomfortable. So why is it that Yom Kippur never falls on Friday or on Sunday? We don't let it fall on Friday or Sunday. We move the new moons. What do you mean you move the moon? You cannot move the new moon. No, sometimes you'll see the new moon will be on a Thursday, but in all synagogues around the world, we declare the new month to start on Friday, a day later. Why? It's not comfortable. It doesn't fit our schedule. How could you do that? Yes, we can. God gave us the permission to do that. Can you control that? Yes. If you're being raised with that idea, only the sky is the limit. This is so important. Now let's see, but there's another condition. That was verse number 2 about controlling the zodiac signs and the dates and the calendar. Now we're coming to verse 3. And verse 3 says, Dabru el kol adat Israel, talk to the whole congregation of Israel, saying, לאמור, בעשור לחודש הזה ויקחו להם איש שא לבית אבות, שא לבית. On the 10th day of this month, each one should take a lamb to every household. And it goes on, verse 6, והיה לכם למשמרת עד 14 יום לחודש. So you take the lamb on the 10th day, you keep it till the 14th day, and then you slaughter the lamb, the whole congregation of Israel, at twilight of the 14th day of the first month. Then verse 7, ולקחו מן הדם ונתנו על שתי מזוזות ועל המשקוף על הבתים, שיאכלו אותו בהם. And they should take from the blood of the slaughtering of the lamb and put it on the doorposts and on the lintels of the houses they eat the lamb. ואכלו, verse 8, ואכלו את הבשר בלילה הזה, and they should eat the meat at that night, צלי אש, fire roast, ומצות על מרורים יאכלו. And they should eat the lamb with matzah, unleavened bread, with bitter herbs. So why did the Israelites eat the lamb with matzah? Because they were told to over 2 weeks earlier. Why is that important? And the answer of the Zohar is as follows. The Zohar says, verse 82 in the Sulam Zohar translation, when they put the blood on the 2 posts of the Zohar, on the doorpost, the door on the lintel, Kein Hashem HaKadosh Hey Asu B'ota Shah. They made the shape of the Hebrew letter Hey. One line, the top, the lintel, one on the right doorpost, the whole post, and on the left, they just covered part of the doorpost, not the top one. If you look at that, that's a Hebrew letter Hey. By the way, the letter Hey, in Hebrew, every letter is also a number. Hey is 5. So the symbol became that 5 is for protection, and that became into the hand 5, and then they put the Hey on the 5. And then somebody took that, deleted the Hey, and said, this is a Chamsa. Chamsa means in Arabic 5, Chamesh. In Hebrew, Chamsa in Arabic. So just the hand does it. No, just the hand does not do it. Only the letter Hey does give the protection. Whoever has Chamsas where, Chamsa is not helping. Just the letter Hey. That's why if you see in many Jewish communities, in ancient times, there was the hand, but the letter Hey on it. They did it in the shape of the letter Hey. מה השם הקדוש חזר באותה שעה להיות דין על מצרים, and the holy name, that letter Hey, could be judgment, could be also mercy. It was judgment for the Egyptians. It was mercy for the Israelites. The same power. What's the color of blood? Says the Zohar, red, which is judgment. So what does that mean? Why do you have to put blood on the, how many people today can do something like this? You slaughter a lamb, you take the blood, okay? Anyway, no one should be upset because they left the next morning, but, living with the blood on your door, that's not a very nice sight. Verse 83. And the secret of that thing, סוד הדבר, כאין שהיא למעלה באותה שעה, כך היו צריכים להראות למטה. אם רחמים רחמים, עם דין דין. לפי שהיה למעלה דין על מצרים, כן כתוב, וטבלתם בדם אשר בסף, והגעתם אל המשקוף. So, here the Zohar starts another thing. It's not just that your actual words have power. to turn the path of history, and the way you speak will change the way you experience life. And as I said, scientific research for the last 20, 30 years is proving again and again and again that this is exactly what's happening. When your brain is wired always to look on the bright side and always to speak on the bright side, and always, like people say, don't say it's a problem, say it is a challenge. Don't say it's a disaster, it is an opportunity. Okay? People start to learn how to do that. You have to believe in that. And that will change the path of your destiny. But it's also, you have to understand that physical actions do have a metaphysical influence, which means whatever you do below affects the above. And this is crucially important. You want to bring the light of God into you, you have to follow certain actions, which means just they took a lamb that was in the month of Aries. They took a ram. Aries is a ram. And Aries, the ram was also the god of Egypt, Ra. That is the name of that god. Ra means in Hebrew, evil. Okay? Coincidence? No coincidences. They took and they slaughtered the god of the Egyptians, thinking that they're really removing his power. But they didn't just do that. They ate the unleavened bread, the matzah, not because they didn't have enough time to bake bread. They were told to do that feast, like to eat lamb with bread. They were told 2 weeks earlier that that's what's going to happen. We just read the words. So why did God tell them to eat matzah? Because if bread is a symbol of livelihood in so many cultures, if bread is a symbol of satiation, a lot of people cannot feel satiated without eating bread. If bread is so fulfilling and so rich to every culture, so when it rises, it's a symbol for the selfishness, pride, which is the biggest enemy of each human being. You want to destroy the Pharaoh from within. You have to take the bread and control it. Don't let it even leaven. You press it. You make tzimtzum over it. Matzah, tzimtzum, it's the same source. And then when you control that force of evil within you, you make the matzah and you eat it with the lamb. There's a force that like you're pushing the right buttons to create something above, which means the killing of the god of Egypt. What's the god of Egypt? Slavery, evil, hopelessness, depression, the idea that you don't deserve to be happy. How do you deliver that? You have to do actions from below, which means you want to be successful, you have to get up and do something. Learn a profession. Be with people, a professional, so you get how they do it. You have to, and then you have to try. You have to make the phone calls. You have to knock on doors. You have to do the action from below so something will come from above. What do we learn over here? The words and your actions, you should look at them as magic. Remember that the actions and the words, if you are concentrating for them as vessels to bring in God's light into the physical realm, because you're the great priest of your life will be illuminated. And therefore, when it said on Mount Sinai, do not murder, it's not because it's like do not murder, you found in Hammurabi laws or in the Egyptian laws, they said do not murder and do not steal because those kingdoms, until today, they made those laws because if you steal and you murder whenever you feel like, there's no society, there's no production. You can't tax anyone in a place like this. It's chaotic. Where it said on Mount Sinai, do not steal, is because when you steal, you simply take the light that belongs to somebody else. These people that put their effort and energy in building fortune, properties, whatever, their soul is there also. The light of God is there also. So when you steal it, you're basically going against the rules of flow of the universe. That means whatever you created is yours. You have the right for happiness, and your creation is your own possession. And no one has the right to take it away from you. Nobody can take it away from you. And if they take it, they're going to be hurt because you can't take bliss. You can't take away bliss without the consent of the owner who created it. That's what Mount Sinai Revelation was about. It's realizing that the crime doesn't pay. Realizing that murdering other people and taking life is not ever going to save you and make you a better person and your life better. It's never going to be like this unless somebody comes to kill you. So kill them first. Why? The moment they come to kill you, they go against the rules of the universe. In that manner, the universe does not protect them, but you have to protect yourself. This is the birth of the idea of freedom. And if you reenact it every year, every day, because every day we mention in the prayers the Exodus again and again and again. Why? We're here to find our independence and our creativity. And when each one of us is doing that without blame, without hurting others, without stealing and murdering and so on, we create a world that is a great, beautiful vessel for all the great bliss of the Creator, so it can dwell within us. That idea, humanity must internalize, because otherwise the suffering, the misery, the darkness will continue to plague all of humanity. So you have to choose a side. Thank you, and good luck to all of us, especially in these days.